from next Monday. There we
go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Just Because Wrestling. And it's a big week for Just Because Wrestling because it's been a week of returns. So last week, we returned to in-person recording. Then we promptly returned to remote recording in order to enable the return of another return. And that is the first return of our it's the first time of a return guest. That's what it is. There was a lot of returns there. And it is, of course...
You confused yourself there.
And it is, of course, the one, the only. It is our good friend, Fraser Porter. How are you, my good sir?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to be back. I'm returning, as you said. I don't think you mentioned that. I'm back, returning.
Yeah.
I'm excited for another episode. It'll be good fun. I'm sure we've got lots of wrestling to talk about.
Yeah, so,
absolutely.
So kind of so what we were talking about what we did last week, if you didn't know, we watched along Money in the Bank 2013 because we're kind of in the theme, as everyone is now, in the theme of Money in the Bank leading into next Sunday's pay-per-view as we record. It's a week away. Unfortunately, given all our schedules, this was the only time we could get together and record, so we don't have the luxury of a Monday Night Raw.
The whole show will change by the time Sunday comes around. There'll not be a Money in the Bank ladder match.
It's already been chopped and changed significantly in the last couple of weeks, and some of the matches are still incomplete. We don't even know if this is the final card. I presume it is. I can't think of any other matches that will be added to it.
I mean, we say that, but Hell in a Cell, they just changed the main event and put it on SmackDown. So exactly. Who knows?
That's the thing, and we'll get into it later on. But they've done that again this week, and we'll talk about that match and what they're doing later on and why that's happening. But we'll talk about Money in the Bank. It's obviously a huge show, a significant show, because it's the return of fans, it's this week is the return of fans.
Yeah,
I think
this Friday, I think, is the first one.
Is it Friday? I wasn't sure if there was night for Raw.
No, it's the last Thunderdome tonight.
Last Thunderdome.
Fans on Friday, which would be really strange to have back properly and inside. It'd be so strange.
It'll be good.
Where's the SmackDown coming from on Friday night? So where's the first show back? What arena?
It is Texas. It's it's the same venue as Money in the Bank, is it not?
Oh really? Is it so they're doing the boat nights there?
Yeah, I think it's the Wells Fargo Center is where the pay-per-view is in Fort Worth, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it's in the same place. I would imagine it's all in Texas anyway. But
because right now they're only limited. There's only a certain amount of states that have opened up fully. There's Texas, Florida. I think that's from what I've seen in all the schedules. AEW the same. They just seem to be looping between all those mixed cities within Texas.
Nevada as well, as far as I know. The UFC there on Saturday.
Sure, the UFC was full capacity in Nevada as well. So it'll be an interesting one. We're hearing so much is written about they're saving all the good stuff for the return of fans. So I'm expecting SmackDown to be the best show.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. No More Words needs to come back with Jeff Hardy. That's all I want.
Yeah, no more. He promised that.
Broken Dreams.
Broken Dreams is coming back. There's John.
So many things.
There's so much potential as well, because you have there's big speculation around Becky Lynch and whether it looks that she's set to come back, and Cena is apparently a lock-in for SummerSlam, and you're talking Brock back with his
Brock's
man bun.
Got a top knot. Yeah.
Brock. The world is not ready.
He looks. It's so strange. It's a happy birthday to Brock Lesnar, though. He's got a nice wee bit of facial hair, nice wee ponytail.
Enjoying life in retirement, or wherever he is.
Man goatee combo. He's the only guy who pull that combo.
He looks terrifying.
He looks
like. You wouldn't want to come across him in a dark alley. That's for sure.
That's the thing. I think he can rock the goatee top notch because, who's going to say it to him? Who's going to give him shit for it?
Exactly.
what kind of man, like, you do not want to mess with a man who on his 44th birthday said, you know what, I'll celebrate by working in a butcher's for the day. I'm going to start hacking meat all day. And that's an ideal birthday party for me. And I'll bring my UFC.
Get some carcasses. Yeah, there we go.
Let me just stab some dead flesh and then I'll go home. like he's a lunatic. I can't. Biggest baby face.
It'll be an interesting one as to whether he'll be back soon. I know Heyman's starting to tease that on social media, and stuff like that. So it'll be an interesting one whether we'll see him kind of once fans open up or once crowds start coming in again. And like,
it's weird that this is his longest absence since he left, since he returned in 2012. Like, this is the longest time we've not seen him. So surely he's going to come back soon.
It's weird. Yeah, you would think, because like apparently that's why he was gone anyways, because he didn't see a point in doing it without fans. And like, I suppose as well, WWE, you know, amidst the pandemic, obviously we reported on the numerous times they, you know, did budget cuts and, you know, which led to the numerous releases in the company. But like, obviously Brock Lesnar has a ginormous contract, one of, if not the biggest contract in the company. And I mean, why pay him? You know what I mean? Like when they're not getting a gate, they're not getting folk in the door, and he's not going to bring any new folk in. He might do now we've got fans back, but
you'd be hoping so, because by God, television can't get any worse. In the last 10 weeks. And from what, like, again, I'd mentioned, like, all we're hearing is, but they have a lot planned for when crowds come back, they're saving it all. So I hope that's right, and this is not what we're getting now for the future, because the television has been terrible.
How would you like to see Brock get used if he comes back, let's say in the run up to SummerSlam?
Bobby Lashley.
You know, Lashley.
Yeah. I don't want to see him in Roman. I don't want the dynamic of, because if they, like, I think if Brock comes back, they're going to put Heyman with him. I don't think Brock is ever going to go without Paul Heyman now. So the only way you can do Roman and Brock is if Heyman leaves Roman, and I don't want that to happen right now either.
Yeah.
So, or probably not at all. But but I just feel, you know, Vince could be tempted to go to the well one more time with Roman and Brock. Because I still
it's going to happen at some point, surely, again.
I still think the end goal with Vince is to eventually turn Roman face. So, you know, will the temptation be too much for Vince when Brock is back to do it? I'm not sure. Lashley is the one that makes sense to me. But I don't trust Vince, is what I'm saying. That's him and Roman.
No, I think Lashley is the immediate answer. Because that's a match that people have been wanting for probably a decade now. It's like Lashley, when he came into the company 16 years ago, there was immediate comparisons between the two, just based on the way they look and the way they perform in the ring. And the fact that Lashley went on to have an MMA career as well, and granted didn't win any world championships, but had a very good record. But I think Lashley's the immediate answer. And then I thought of it just came to me just now. And I think it's just one of those ones that, like, it has no story. Like, it has absolutely zero story going in, but I would be totally down for it because I know it'll be good. And that's it. We get, like, say, the Monday Night Raw of whenever, or maybe the Smack, or the Raw after Money in the Bank. Fans are there. We get the return, and think back to 2011, and this is very similar to if you remember, the Undertaker Triple H segment that set up that match for WrestleMania. You get the return of Daniel Bryan to crowds. He comes back on Raw. Obviously, he's banished from SmackDown, and then out comes Brock Lesnar and just, you know, F5s him into oblivion. And you just do that match at SummerSlam or something, because it'll be good. You know what I mean? And it's just a good match to do.
I like the sound of that.
Yeah,
I mean, they had won a stellar match at Survivor Series a few years back, and that was what, just as Bryan had turned heel. So as a face going in a match like that would be great.
Yeah, exactly. Like people always wanted Brock Lesnar or Daniel Bryan match because it's the ultimate David versus Goliath. And then it eventually it happened, but Bryan was a heel, and it wasn't. It was very, very good. Don't get me wrong. It was a lot of people's match of the year, but like it wasn't the same because Daniel Bryan was cheating, and there were still a lot of unanswered questions because it had just happened. He had just turned heel like 2 days beforehand or something, or beforehand, and there was a lot of unanswered. People weren't even sure if he was heel yet. Like they were just they weren't too sure. But like if he came back fully babyface against Brock, I mean, you can't tell me you don't want to see that. It would just be good, you know what I mean? And if Bryan got his win back over him, I'd be happy. I'd be up for that.
He's another one.
Brock versus Omos. True, David and Brock versus Omos. David and Goliath make Brock look like David. Small man Brock versus big Omos.
Just the thought of Brock fighting from underneath is
him getting suplexed. That's what we want.
That is,
why not? But that was an interesting one. Bryan kind of slipped my mind. He's another one that is he another one that they're saving for crowds to come back, or because there hasn't been much in terms of reporting around his contract status since he's become a free agent.
I think it was mentioned in the Observer this past week that he's not got a contract with anyone yet.
Yeah.
And if they have signed a contract, then it's being very secretive. But as of the Observer coming out last Friday, he's not signed anywhere. He's just enjoying his time off. When crowds come back, he might get that endorphin rush.
Yeah.
And just be like, I need to feed off it.
I saw an interview with him where he spoke about the WrestleMania match, and he said he found it a very strange experience, and he was thinking like that. Is this the feeling that you get when it's time to retire like this? It's so I don't know. Like you said, maybe when full capacity crowds return, he gets that endorphin rush. But at the moment, I think he's just gonna see how it plays out. I don't think he has much desire at the moment, from what I read and what I've seen in interviews, to properly get in and do a full-time runs again. So
yeah,
it'll be an interesting.
I would love to see him go to AEW though.
Yeah,
there's to see him over there.
The thing is with him, there's a lot of interesting matchups out of WWE and he's a guy that could easily do it because he's done it before. He was the indie darling ever before he was the Yes Movement. So there's too many interesting matchups for them never to happen in AEW or whatever. And I've said before, I could see him going and doing one kind of tour of the indies and doing a couple of matches in AEW, and then ended up back in WWE and probably going to the Hall of Fame or something like that. But kind of like what Kurt Angle did towards the end of his career, and like when he wrestled Cody Rhodes and Joe Hendry and stuff. So I could definitely see something like that. But yeah, he's another one. We could be talking all about this, and he could be on SmackDown next Friday. Like you never know.
Yeah,
being injected into the Money in the Bank as the rematch triple threat.
Hey, go for it. Put him in it.
Stranger things have happened.
No, because we obviously talked about this before, myself and Jack. That where does Daniel Bryan go? Does he go to AEW? Does he tour the indies? Does he make his return to Ring of Honor and all this kind of stuff? Personally, I don't think so. I think he'll just end up back in WWE. I think it probably is one of those things that they're waiting on a crowd. And yeah, I mean, there's just something really sad about a yes chant, like a piped in yes chant. You know what I mean? It's one of the most organic things to ever happen in wrestling. And the fact that they have to pipe it in now, I know they have to because there's no one there to make the noise. Yeah. It's just sad. And I just want to see, obviously.
You mean the people on the screens weren't actually chanting the Wow.
I know.
This whole year's been a lie.
We'll say what you want about the piped in yes chant. I think the saddest example of that is the piped in "This is awesome" chants, because they're words. They're just
yeah.
They did a match
backstage
recently.
It's just Vince backstage going, yes.
Yeah, because like he's piping it in for all Vince, like Vince's what Vince thinks is awesome, which obviously
Vince walks to the ring. This is awesome. There we go.
I'm surprised they haven't like piped in like Watt chants and CM Punk chants for the ship for this.
just for the giggles, aye.
Yeah.
Should do,
like really suspend our disbelief. But yeah,
have either of you had a chance to do the Thunderdome before it finished?
I've been trying so much, and it's always been kind of booked out or whatever anytime I've gone in.
It's always too full, yeah.
Yeah, have you got a chance?
I got in for one, and then my class for uni sort of on the morning was like, oh, we're moving it up from 12 until 9. So it was first thing. So I was like, all right, cool, no Thunderdome tonight. Yeah, it was. It would have been nice to. Getting told, look happy, look annoyed, and that's it.
Yeah. Because that's it. Actually, like it's weird because like I haven't done one either, but like I always did wonder like what it's like watching the show through the Thunderdome, and like. Now that you say like, oh yeah, look happy, look sad, whatever, it does seem like they are getting directions because it seems like they are overtly going like boo.
Yeah,
or,
so
hey.
From the folk I know that have done it, they just get the TV feed, and they're watching it, and then on the bottom it'll come up like cheer or boo or like look more excited, and it's just a general like thing to everyone, I guess. And then
because they get as far as I know, and the actually only person I've seen online do it was actually Adam Pacitti. He was the only one that I've kind of seen an insight to it. But
he got kicked off.
Yeah, he got kicked off. Yeah. What was the side? It was something Mojo or something, and he got kicked off over it.
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah, something to do with Mojo.
It was something.
I know he held up signs and stuff, and he had the Cultaholic top on, and they booted him.
Yeah. But but I know he was saying that they had like before the show started, they had like a warm up. They had some of the guys, some of the superstars come on and just be like getting them to stand up and jump about and everything. And like I was just thinking, could you imagine me in my bedroom at 1 a.m. like my parents wondering what's he doing down there? He's doing jumping jacks because Drew Gulak told me to do it.
Yeah, it's certainly weird. I remember actually, WWE signed like a new TV agreement here in Ireland to appear on Virgin Media and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And I came in one night from work, recently enough, and it was just on TV. SmackDown was on TV. It was SmackDown from I think 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. No, it was last week. Because it was the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn last man standing match. And I remember I was sitting down, my mom was up, and she, like I've said before that like she used to watch wrestling all the time with me when I was younger and stuff. But she'd know, like she knew who Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were, but she wouldn't be like, up to date with anything, you know what I mean? Like she was pure just like, oh Jesus, look at them, they look different and all this kind of stuff. And she saw that it was her first time seeing the Thunderdome, and she was like, that's just sad. That is awful. And I was just like,
yeah.
Maybe I'm just used to it because it's been there for a year or whatever now. But like,
yeah,
I was like, it was worse. It was just nothing, and it was just silence.
Yeah. I think that's why people are more receptive to it, because the people who watch WWE remember what it was like when they did it in the Performance Center, and like that was worse when they were doing it like to silence, and then they brought in the NXT guys to stand, and that actually ended up being even worse. It was like those guys.
It was just so strange with them being like so distanced and like it was very artificial as well. And I watched
that was the
WrestleMania 36, and it was so strange with like no one silent.
But that was the one thing. That was the one thing that AEW got right in terms of the guys around the ring. I think they sent, like, from the impression I got from watching it, is they sent like the guys. They're kind of people who weren't on the show but work for them around the ring. Yeah, and they sent them like around, but didn't produce them or didn't give them any direction. It was just like go out and have fun, or at least it was like general direction, like cheer him, boo him, and it looked
I think the only thing the kind of good thing that worked was they put the heels on one side and the faces on the other side, and obviously the heels booed the faces and the faces booed the heels and vice versa. But
when they did it with the NXT guys, it looked like they were being directed on every movement that they've done. You know what I mean? It was just very robotic and very like formulaic, I think. And it was just, it was a strange experience. And then that's why I think people were more receptive to the Thunderdome then when it came in, because it was refreshing.
Yeah.
But now it's just kind of.
Tell you what was refreshing though was last week on AEW with a whole, like packed crowd.
That was incredible.
Yeah. It was not the Daily's place. Just it felt so fresh and new, and having Malachi Black making his debut and then having it in front of a massive crowd.
Yeah, and it was an incredible show as well, which made it even better. Like that was, to me, it was one of the best AEW Dynamites they've ever done. Like I thought it was a fantastic show from head to toe.
And I'm buzzing for this week as well, because you got Fyter Fest night 1 on Wednesday, and the card is fantastic. You've got Ethan Page versus Darby Allin in a coffin match, which I promise you is going to be brutal. You got Hangman. Hangman is addressing the fan. Hangman's cutting a promo, and I'm calling it now. That is going to be one of the promos of the year. I promise you, it's going to be him calling out Kenny, and it's be and potentially, confirming the match for All Out. Maybe I know we're still a bit away from it, but like it's the kind of match that
only 2 months.
September 5th, I think, is All Out.
Yeah, it's about so less than 2 months. I'm excited for that match. That would be good.
That would be
Like if you just have Hangman go out there and like recall everything that's happened to him since All Out 2019, and just be like, I'm ready now and all this kind of stuff. I can just see it in my head. What else? Like I can't even remember what else is on the card, but I remember those two things got me really excited.
But like I can only imagine there's going to be further developments of the Malachi Black thing.
Probably
intriguing. Are Hardy and
it's Chris Hardy.
I mean, that'll be good. We've seen them going at it for about 20 years now, so they know they can do a good match. They can do something.
Rookies.
AEW using all this youthful talent.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Like Chris Jericho said a few months back, he was like, "Oh, you'll never see a match on AEW that you've seen in WWE. All fresh feuds and all that." And it didn't quite work out, Chris. Did it?
No. Spoke too soon.
AEW, all ex WWE. I mean, like it's right there. It was one of these guys, one of these Twitter pages where it's like AEW superfan #1, all this kind of stuff. And it was like this guy, he came out and he said, we have released 98 wrestlers since 2019, and I think he said that AEW have signed 10 of them, and Impact have signed 11 of them, or something like that. And we have subsequently 11 people from Impact in the time being, which is like weird when you put it in perspective like that. You're like, Jesus. But I mean, that's obviously a percentage of the releases, but like, I think what it is they sign like the bigger names, obviously from WWE, and put them in the bigger stories, and they just. Yeah, and then people are just like, we're just watching guys that we saw on Raw and SmackDown. But like, find me someone who's never wrestled in WWE now, or find me someone who's never wrestled in Impact now, or what I mean.
That's the thing. Like, there's 98 people got released in the past year, and they've still got an insane depth of roster. Like they've got so many people signed. They just signed everyone to be like, yep, they worked for WWE. There's 205 Live guys that. They were only there for like 3 months, and that's them done. But now they're ex WWE. So if Impact or AEW sign them, someone will go, well, they were in WWE.
Exactly. And even what's your man's name? The guy in NXT, and he was released twice in the last year. Sabatelli, yeah. And he was the guy that was allegedly the mole, was he, for
Yeah, for AEW.
when they did the Bischoff thing and he revealed that, or he leaked that. So yeah, he's royally screwed now. He'd have to go to Japan.
Oh yeah. There's no chance from.
Yeah.
Ring of Honor Impact, that'll be fine for him.
It's I'm looking forward now to the return of fans. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have, because I'm scared that it's nothing. I'm scared that they've been saying, "Oh, we're saving the good stuff," but they have nothing. Like, and that's the impression.
It's fine. John Cena's coming back. That's for the fans.
Yeah,
Cena's coming back with maybe The Rock.
Yeah,
I think.
I could definitely see The Rock back soon as well. If not,
I think The Rock will be back. I think The Rock will be back for Survivor Series because it's his 25th anniversary. Yeah, it's his 25 years. Yeah, so I reckon they might do a thing. I'm not saying a match. I doubt it'll be a match. Very, very different.
I think it'll be a promo.
And maybe a tease for the Roman match.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a tease for that. That would be quite cool.
It'd be such good storytelling having him coming out and be like, "Oh, it's my 25th anniversary," and then Roman comes out and being like, "Well, I'm the head of the table. You've got to acknowledge me now." And then that builds. It's just the same promo he's done, but it works so well.
It does.
That's how you build.
I think it's just the way he delivers it. It is like cadence, and it's just the way he delivers it so calmly. He's not shouting and screaming. He's just like, acknowledge me as the head of the table because I am. Look what I've done.
He's the big dog.
Yeah, simple as, or face the consequences, or I'll just half you with a spear, and like it works so unbelievably well, and it's such a fresh take from like the scream, like the typical shouting and screaming heel promos.
It's the Jake Roberts thing, isn't it? Like in the 80s, Jake Roberts was like the one guy who would actually talk to the camera and felt like you were talking to the person, and then you had everyone else in the car. Everyone else in the card, when they did promos, everyone started it with, "Well, let me tell you something," and then screaming their heads off for 30 seconds. Where that's what separated Roberts, and I think that's what Roman's doing now as well. It's just a different promo to what everyone else is doing.
It's just strange though, because he's what, the best heel in the business right now, I would say, because I think Kenny's clipping at his heels, but I think Reigns is better.
Yeah.
He's not going to get booed.
See, this is what I was worried about. This is what I was worried about at WrestleMania, because obviously WrestleMania we had like, what was it, like 20,000 fans in Raymond. Yeah, and like we talked about it in our build up to the show. We were like, "Oh, is Roman like?" We spent all this time booing Roman because he wasn't booked the way we wanted him to be booked. Then they eventually turned him heel, and obviously they piped in the boos, and it's been really, really good. But it's really, really good to the point where like we want to cheer Roman now. Is he going to get cheered? And then Vince is going to go, "Oh, I have to turn him face again." But no, I think thankfully the WrestleMania match proved that might not happen, because they did boo him, and I think that was down to Roman himself, because I think Roman kind of went out of his way to be extra villainous and extra spiteful to ensure that he was booed, So yeah, hopefully that hasn't changed.
But then my worry there is he's meant to be facing Cena at SummerSlam. Who are the fans going to cheer and boo in that situation?
I think we're at a stage now with Cena where I think the fans will just be happy to see him back.
Yeah.
I as a fan miss Cena, and I think a lot of people
absolutely.
And I think it's only when he's gone away that people have gained the respect for him for being around. Because the reason people booed him is because he was around for all that time. And I think I genuinely believe if Cena and Roman come in, I think you could genuinely get a face Cena and heel Roman out of it. Mm-hmm. But it'll be an interesting one. I think that is the match for SummerSlam. Are we all in agreement here that that's where they're going?
That's where they're going. Surely.
I think so, yeah.
I think we might get a setup to that maybe on Friday. Maybe not. Maybe after Money in the Bank.
I think they might wait till after Money in the Bank just to get the Edge stuff out of the way.
Have Cena appear and promote the Suicide Squad, and then Reigns attack. I mean, it's not very PG, but like he's got a movie coming out. Get him on TV.
Yeah, tell him to come, or he'll come on and call Taiwan a country again, and
Exactly.
piss off the entire of China.
PG.
And go again.
The PG thing wouldn't matter at all because I watched Army of the Dead and it was not PG.
No, it's true. Yeah.
So it's yeah, I do think like Cena will be cheered because even when we did our watch along last week for Money in the Bank 2013, we were watching the match that night was Cena versus Mark Henry, the infamous the salmon jacket promo, and you know, like we were looking at it just being like, geez, Cena's great, isn't he? He is great, and like it's only when it's literally the definition of you don't know what you got till it's gone, and yeah, he's already said on several occasions that you know he will come back. WWE is his home. He's looking forward to coming back, and yeah, SummerSlam hopefully, I'm praying.
I wonder how he'll get out of Bray Wyatt's void. I wonder if they'll explain that. So that's last we saw him.
He's another one as well. Actually, he's another one that hasn't been seen for a long time, and I think we could see him back now that crowds are back. Hopefully,
potentially.
And hopefully they've sat down and taken the time. I know they haven't, but I'm just hoping that they've sat down and kind of made out a plan for this character or whatever version is going to come back of Bray, because it's always the same. He always comes back, has a good kind of 2 months, and then it's gone. Something strange will happen.
I was completely bored of the Fiend character when the pandemic happened. It's like he's not got the same aura, and I think they've just wasted that character. I think he needs to do something really new and fresh to mix it up. Otherwise, he'll not stand out.
I think we had the most interested I was in it was the Firefly Funhouse at Mania with Cena, and I was like, wow, there's a lot they can do from this, and then they just didn't do any of it, and like. Then from there, like I was kind of getting interested again, and then kind of tailored off. But then the entrance at WrestleMania 37, like the last WrestleMania, with the Jack in the Box, and he comes out, and I was like that. Like I was getting reinvested into it, and then they just took my heart out and stamped on it repeatedly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was.
I do have an idea for him for how he returns and how he comes back. And I'll talk about it when we get into Money in the Bank, but because I mean, like maybe he's just someone who like needs a crowd. You know what I mean? Like he's obviously such a visceral character that like you know people are like audibly in shock of him. You know, like if you remember when he debuted the Fiend and attacked Finn Balor, you know, all those years ago now it seems. Like people were just like, Jesus, what the hell is this? And then you know, the entrance at SummerSlam that year, and people were just like, this is mental, this is crazy, this. And yeah, like I think he like you said, Jack, he started off well, you know, the Cena stuff, you know, in the empty Thunderdome when he could just, you know, teleport around the building and all that kind of stuff, and you know, they could do the crazy camera work. And then the Firefly Funhouse obviously was just the most surreal thing I've ever seen. And then, I mean, like they should have, I would say they should have done it for the Orton match as well. But obviously, with fans in attendance and stuff, it's difficult to do. It's difficult to have them, you know, watching a screen. But yeah, hopefully, like you said, they've sat down and gone, right, this is what we want to do from now till WrestleMania with the Fiend. But like, obviously, it's very, very unlikely that's happened.
The Orton match was the weird one because. Like the lead up to that WrestleMania, it was, you know, he was literally set on fire by Randy Orton and all this, and then the match at WrestleMania was a singles match. Like it was one pinfall, like you know,
it was a massive disappointment.
Like I thought, like just do something, but then you know,
silly mallet pole match.
What was it?
A silly mallet pole match.
Yeah. Vince Russo is there now. That's what we'd get. But it's like, but when he does come back, they're obviously going to go to
mallet on a pallet. That's mallet on a pallet. That's what.
Yes. There we go.
Like when he does come back, he needs like they need to pay off the Bliss story now. So yeah. So like, are we going to get him and Bliss feuding or what? I'm not sure. I think it's going to be very, very strange once it does come.
It's anyone's guess, really.
Yeah.
It's anyone's guess.
I just want cult leader Bray back, like 2013 NXT Bray. Bring that back.
Yeah,
that's
the best version.
Yeah, we were watching Money in the Bank 2013. They did a vignette for them, and we were just like, this is great. From like 2013 to 2014, like that year, his promos were like fantastic. He wasn't like rambling and making bloody limericks and all that kind of stuff. Like, and it was really, really cool and fresh and different. And
like when he debuted with, again, it was the feud with Kane. Yeah. They were really cool. Like, and you had the Ring of Fire match and all that. And then, as it went on, it just got very rambly and very riddly. Not Matt Ridley, riddles. But it's. I'd love to see it, but I don't want them to be repetitive, because I worry, even in 2013, and I know we're only talking 7 or 8 years, but the quality of writing has gone down like a lot in WWE. Like, their writers, promo wise, have been terrible lately. Evident.
One of the writers didn't even know who Bobby Lashley was.
That's what I was just going to say. Evident in the fact that you were a writer saying, I think his name is Bobby Ashley. Like, come on. Like, it's your one job. But like,
exactly. You need to know the staff.
I think WWE champion Rick Astley is, like the
But
he never loses submission matches. Him never gives up.
Gives up, yeah.
Him and Cena could be a tag team. Just never give up.
Yeah.
But it'd be so I fear that they wouldn't have the quality of staff to write promos for Bray in the kind of cult leader type gimmick. And obviously he'd have some bit of input, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unless they literally gave him the pen and went, write your own promos. Obviously, like, within reason, don't be going fucking mental and stuff that we can't say on TV. But like, these are the parameters. Write it as much in them.
And it seems like they did that with the Firefly Bray at the start.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of breaking the fourth wall and like winking a nod to the camera with the Firefly Funhouse.
It was so good. It was so good.
Like the Vince doll and all that, like, and stuff.
Yeah. It was like the Firefly Funhouse segment was my favorite part of Raw every week. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It was something that was part every week, and then it obviously tapered off as Bray Wyatt seems to make a habit of doing. But yeah, I don't know. Before we get into Money in the Bank, though, I just want to ask you two gents, off the top of your head, favorite Thunderdome moment. Before we go back to fans, what was the thing you remember most fondly about the Thunderdome?
Retribution's debut.
Yeah, obviously.
Just that whole run of Retribution, nothing can top that.
Lana being put through the table 8 weeks in a row on Raw. How can anyone forget that?
Solid, yeah.
No, seriously, I think it was probably Kevin Owens and Reigns at Rumble in the Last Man Standing match. Loved that match. I thought the way to use the Thunderdome to sort of like going up on the rungs of the tiers, I thought it was fantastic. I can't really, it's all blends into one show really this past year, so it's kind of hard to pinpoint any. But Edge winning the Rumble,
maybe Reigns' debut at SummerSlam when he comes out at the end of SummerSlam, or in terms of significant moments, Taker's retirement is another significant moment that happened in the Thunderdome.
That was obviously weird. That was just
a weird moment. Yeah. It was very strange. Why Kane turned up in his gear, I'll never know. Like, I still to this day don't know.
I'll never not find that funny though. That's the thing. I'll never not find that funny. I need to rewatch that pay-per-view just to watch him waddle down to the in a singlet.
The commitment he gave, he even taped his wrists. Like, why? Like, he was there in the locker room taping his wrists. I don't understand.
It was surely a rib. It had to have been a rib. Like, I mean, surely one of the lads. Yeah, you're having a match. Actually, it's going to be you and Kate.
Because when he came down in his gear, the first thing I thought is this is hardly an angle. This is hardly going to be Kane attacking Taker, and here we go.
You've done it. Taker's not retired. It's not his retirement. Guarantee you he'll be back.
He probably will be.
This is it as well. When fans return, is he going to sit at home and go, "Oh God, I missed that. Why didn't I get a fan return or
exactly.
a fan?"
Well, I saw an interview with him after like this past WrestleMania. He was saying he watched it and thought I should be there. It's like, you're just retired, man.
No, just to have a break.
Poor Michelle.
I left Tesco a month and a half ago. I don't. Every time I go to Tesco, babe, I should be here. This is where I should be. I miss it, you know. Just
I'm
give
looking
up.
at all the stuff and thinking this should be
Exactly.
out there.
I look at all the stuff going on the shelves. I'm like, oh, that thrill. Putting it up. Nah, I need to retire.
It's going to be. He's a strange one. As I've said before, I feel so bad for Michelle McCool. That poor woman has been put through the ringer with her husband and his denial about how his career is over.
Like, he's a 55-year-old man with knees made of polyester, and he still wants to fucking, run around and jump over the top rope and thinks he can go 30 minutes with Roman Reigns. But like, oh man, yeah, it's just focus on your, whatever you Texas people do, and shoot your gun.
Focus on your guns.
That's Texas.
Shoot your guns and ride your horses.
One stereotype.
Eat your barbecue.
But I think, I'm trying to think of other, like, as you said, Fraser, like, it kind of all rolls into one. Like, the Thunderdome stuff, a lot of it. I think obviously the fire match with Orton and...
the eye for an eye match. The eye for an eye match. Rollins.
That was it. That wasn't.
That was the last pay-per-view before Thunderdome. That was how long ago it was.
Yeah.
True. That was the performance center. Again,
do we have any like ring breaks or big bumps? Anyone come off a cell?
I don't know. Even up until even a recent one, Ricochet did that bump where he came off the top rope a couple of weeks ago onto Morrison.
Yeah.
Those guys are having a nice little fun rivalry with each other, just parkouring around the Thunderdome while it's still there.
I'm interested to see what they do in Money in the Bank, because they're both in the ladder match. It'll be
something stupid anyway, something dangerous.
Yeah. If either of you watched their Aztec Warfare match from Lucha Underground?
I have seen. Yeah.
I haven't seen that. I've go back and watch
check it out before Sunday, because some of the stuff that they did, Prince Puma and Johnny Mundo, was incredible in those matches.
I have to go back and have a look at that now. Because
give a taste of like what they can do with like the two of them with tools. You know what I mean? Like it salivates the mouth. You know what I mean? Like
you're lost for words. It's like it's gonna be fun.
You know what it is? I'm lost for words because I got vaccinated today, and I'm actually it's starting to kick the shit out of me. But those antibodies are really starting to get to me. It's good shit, that vaccine. And
which one did you go? Pfizer?
No, Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah, the extra strong one shot.
One jab. One jab.
None of this two jab shit for me.
They're being facilitated in pharmacies over here now, so we're able to apply. Yeah. Finally. But because I don't know if you've heard, Fraser, but our government have decided now that in 2 weeks' time bars can open, but only vaccinated people can go in there. So that's.
I mean, that's depressing
that's
if you've not had your vaccine.
Yeah.
No, what's worse
that obviously
is that it's only vaccinated and recently recovered COVID patients, which means for the last year and a half, they've been telling us, oh yeah, don't go outside, don't socialize, don't meet your loved ones, stay 2 meters apart, sanitize your hands, wear face masks, don't get COVID. Unless you want to eat inside a restaurant, then do, and then you can come in. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
that's all right.
They're opening now in 2 weeks' time, and I'm looking at them like maybe it's time to go start licking lampposts around the place and try and get it. And they'll recover in 2 weeks. But I could talk about our government now that's a whole other podcast. But yeah, so I'm still in search of my vaccine, and the search goes on. But so getting into it, or before that, is there any, in terms of news, Billy, on your end, is there any news, or Fraser?
I think just off the top of my head, just outside of the WWE sphere, Ring of Honor held Best in the World last night. You know, their recent show, 3 huge title changes on it last night. We had Dragon Lee won the television title for the second time off Tony Deppen. Violence Unlimited, the team of Chris Dickinson and Homicide, won the tag titles, defeating Rhett Titus and Tracy Williams of the Foundation. And in kind of the biggest story, the Ring of Honor World Championship changed hands. Roosh lost the title after 497 days as champion, dropped the title to Bandido, who has obviously been a guy who, you know, we've seen on multiple occasions on the Indies and in Ring of Honor and other promotions. He's a freak. He's just one of these guys, one of these luchadors who can do any flip. Like, he can just do all the flips. He is a flip, and he won the title last night, and kind of it kind of felt like a thank you, you know, because he's obviously a guy who I imagine is in very high demand, and probably is seeked out by other promotions, and he's chosen to sign with Ring of Honor and extend his contract. And I imagine this was their way of being like, look, thank you for investing in us. We're going to invest in you. And, you know, Ring of Honor, you know what? We have to give them kudos because they handled the pandemic very, very well. They paid all their athletes for all the missed shows that happened, all the shows that were meant to happen. All the wrestlers got paid for that. There was no releases unless someone wanted out of their contract. And they just there was absolutely zero like cases or outbreaks in Ring of Honor, anything like that. They handled it exceptionally well. So yeah, fair play to them, and they got to return last night with a big show.
Chelsea
They only had one issue last year, and that was their head booker. But we'll not get into that.
Yeah.
What head booker? What head booker? I don't know anything about
who. Yeah, I actually forgot about that. All that just seems like,
I know, it seems years ago.
It does. But yeah, Jack, you're right. Chelsea Green showed up last night as well.
I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, I didn't catch the show yesterday, but I saw that on Twitter.
She announced herself, or Maria Kanellis announced her as one of the participants in the women's championship tournament. They're obviously doing a new women's title tournament to crown a new champion. And she was an participant. I don't know if she signed a contract. I'm not sure if she's signed to the company yet.
I think she has.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, from what I heard anyway, she has signed a contract, but I'm not sure how long for. It might be just a paper appearance deal, but you can check out at cultaholic.com. All that.
There you
all
go.
that
There's your plug. But so it was an interesting one. I just assumed she'd end up with Impact, given her relationship there and given the fact that her husband works there. But yeah, it'll be an interesting one. There's some interesting matchups there for her, so it'll be an interesting one to see how it plays out. But in terms of, and that's one thing I want to ask Fraser, in terms of obviously you guys where you are starting to open up a lot quicker than we are here. Thanks, Fianna Fáil and Micheál Martin. But So, like, are you guys starting to see kind of are independent shows starting to run, or what's the story there?
So, from what I understand, there's going to be some shows starting up again in August, because it'd be quite a quick turnaround with everything opening up July 19th. Getting shows sort of, we weren't sure it was going to happen until today.
Yeah.
So I think the first big ones are August, and then we should see a regular schedule like September, October. There's a dog on the podcast.
Yeah, this is
incredible.
She got nosy. Yeah, you did. Do you want to be on the podcast? What are your opinions on wrestling?
Yeah, let's hear it. Take the floor.
Well, you fill in for me, and I'll go home. Yeah. You are. You're a knowledgeable wrestling fan. You're not a Mark. Go on, get out of here. Right.
Yes, I hope independent wrestling comes back. I want to get to North Wrestling, which is in Newcastle, one of the local companies. I've been meaning to go to a show of theirs for years and years. I think they're going to announce one of their new shows soon. I'm not too sure, but I'll hopefully get to their first return show.
Yeah, because we're starting to see kind of like dates roll out. Like Billy OTT announced their
his first show is the 18th.
That's in Belfast, isn't it?
In Belfast, yeah.
In Belfast.
So it's obviously their first show. I think it's called the second half, or something like that. I can't remember the exact name, but yeah, obviously.
Do you regularly go to OTT?
That's pretty cool. You can, yeah. It's pretty like, I mean, they only ran one show in Cork where we're living, and we went to that. And like, obviously, the majority of their shows are in Dublin, which isn't that far. I mean, like, it's 2.5, 3 hours on a bus or air. So it's not like it's the hardest thing in the world to go to, but it's questions of time off and stuff like that. Like,
the issues when we were in college, especially, you'll obviously know this as well, Fraser. Like, they trying to get the shows, especially that are 3 hours away. And you have to come up and down, so that's a 6-hour round journey on a Saturday when you're either working that day or else you're working the next morning. So we went to
Homecoming.
Yeah, we went to Homecoming. It's hard now to name out who was on the card because a lot of them now are turned out to be terrible people. So we can't.
We saw Walter.
Pac and Walter was on that card, which was a great match.
That was quite good.
We saw Mike match headlined it.
Yeah. It was the Lads in the Flats and Session Mock Martina versus the Kings of the North.
Yeah, nice.
In a handicap steel cage match. That was quite good.
Who else was on the card?
And then
Osprey and Scotty Davis wrestled as well.
Who they wrestled again? Oh, we also saw Justy and MJF team up against.
MJF was on the card. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I think it was Club Tropicana. I think they faced, or
it was one of them. But it was they're fantastic shows. We actually met Matthew Greg at that show. He was there that night in Dublin.
Yeah,
but that was
he was to travel for all the shows everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you ever do get the chance, Fraser, I definitely recommend to go to it, because they do a fantastic job.
on my sort of watch list for a while. I've been meaning to. I was a few years ago. I was in Belfast when they had a show, and I was so tempted to go, but my flight home was slap bang in the middle of the show. So that's great.
We had one like that as well. We went to a Raw house show a couple of years back, and the day before, I think. There was an OTT show.
No, it was the day after. It was the day after.
The day after. There was an OTT show running in Tala. It might have been Scrapmania. No, it wouldn't have been. It was like November. I can't remember what the show was, but there was like Keith Lee was on the card.
Keith Lee versus Suzuki.
Yeah, it was Keith Lee versus Minoru Suzuki. We had Los Ingobernables de Japón were on the card. Like Naito was there.
We missed it.
We missed it. We missed it because we didn't know it was on, and we were also going home that day anyway, because as great as we were in the midst of college as well, and we were going home on the Sunday, and obviously I think stuff, and then you know how these things go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
we're actually booked to go. We've thought so far advanced ahead now. We booked hotels in Dublin for Patrick's weekend next weekend or next year, because Scattermania will be on, and we imagine they're going to make it because that's their main show. That's their big show.
It'll be crazy.
I could imagine who will be on the card, because they were supposed to have Moxley. Moxley was supposed to wrestle right before the pandemic hit, and we were trying to get up to it, and then obviously it didn't end up happening. So and it's an interesting one as well, because their title's obviously vacant. So I imagine there's going to be
a tournament,
a big tournament for that. So I'm excited to see what they do. We've had the fortune of interviewing a lot of their guys recently. We had like Morden Hype on, and we had Justy and all these people. So we're kind of hoping to get up and see them all wrestle live soon too. So it'll be an interesting one. I know WWE announced recently that they're coming to Britain, and when is it?
September.
Are you going to plan and go?
They're coming to Newcastle, so I think I might try and get a ticket. We'll see. It'll just depend on what day it is, when it's on. Hopefully, considering I work for a company that covers wrestling, that would get to go and see it when it's in town. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, because we've talked about even going, even trying to get to one of them, because they're running 4 shows, but obviously it'll all depend on vaccinations and whether we'll be able to travel. So it's all up in the air.
Yeah, there's Newcastle. Isn't there Newcastle, Glasgow, Manchester, London?
That's it. Yeah.
So, are they all house shows, or is there going to be one Raw?
I think London is a taping.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
They usually use the O2 for taping the Raw or SmackDown.
They usually do something kind of big on that show.
See, I'd love to go to that, but the only thing is, like, the O2 is so far away from everything else in London. it's just pain to get to.
Yeah. It's 20 minutes on the tube.
Yeah, so I know it's it's doable, but like it's just it's a long. Well, it's a short flight, like, but still traveling over to London is a pain in the hole for us anyway. Never mind traveling 20 minutes on the tube then to the show, because we can only fly to Stansted from where we are. So
we're out in Essex. Yeah.
We're talking another hour from Stansted into London City, like, and it's I went to London just before, so like we went into lockdown in March. I was in London to January, and it was obviously had a nice time, but it was pain in the hole in terms of traveling.
London's busy, isn't it? It's a lot. It's always fun. I was down there 3 weeks ago. Just the night before I moved here, I was down in London, and it was so busy, and having to get the tube and know where you're going, and it's pandemonium. So I can only imagine when the world opens up again, it's going to be or whenever like a football match is on, because apparently
I could only imagine what even yesterday was like, because they had obviously the final, and they had Wimbledon was on as well. The final in Wimbledon. So like, Jesus Christ, I could only imagine what London was like. And like,
the thing is, if you stand in Wimbledon and like throw a stone, you'll hit Wembley. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know if you saw, but like, I didn't watch Wimbledon, but I saw like some of the like highlights, and like Tom Cruise and David Beckham were at Wimbledon, and then they were at the final as well, the Euros.
So they had a lovely day out
and just got but I mean, London doesn't really. I've never been to England or any part of the UK. But if London doesn't appeal to me, I think Glasgow would be good crack.
Glasgow reminds me a lot of Belfast, so it's very similar in that aspect.
I know you're saying that thinking we'd know. I've actually never been to Belfast. Then
You've not been to Belfast. Well, it's just more like the architecture and the way it's the whole city feels. I know a lot of people. A few of my mates from Glasgow always go to Dublin though for the Temple Bar and be like, oh, it's like home, because that Dublin's also very similar to Glasgow. So I imagine,
I've been to Belfast, and tense was the word I'd use. For I went to certain parts of Belfast where it's quite tense, and but Glasgow obviously,
especially in terms of where we are, is the very, very south of Ireland. So we have the southest of south accents. And so there's reasons why we don't tend to venture up north much.
I do know of people who have gone to Belfast from Cork and have gotten the shit kicked out of them for simply having a Cork accent. But I was in Dublin there not so long ago, literally about a week and a half ago, and I hate Dublin. It's grand. It's fine. There's plenty of stuff. There's plenty of stuff there, but it's a nightmare to traverse, and it's just a nightmare to bloody get from here to there. And it's obviously it's a lot smaller than Cork in the sense that it's a lot smaller in actual physical size, but there's way more people, so it feels harder. It feels longer to get places or something. I don't know, but Newcastle will surely be the show. We'll go to Newcastle and we'll be all right.
Newcastle's tiny. Newcastle is tiny. It's so easy going. It's nice, really nice city though.
If you are ever planning to go to an OTT show in Dublin, please
bring us up.
Absolutely, I'll let you know.
But please, to meet up obviously would be great, but please just talk to us first and we'll be able to tell you, because some of the OTT shows you think they're in Dublin and they might as well be in a different universe. They're miles away from the city.
When I first came down here for the WCPW shows, they were like, oh, it's city centre. So I was like, great, cool. Never been to Newcastle before. I was 17 years old. I can manage my way around the city. It was 40 minutes outside the centre, and I was like, I can walk it. No. It was in a wee dingy warehouse out on the outskirts of Newcastle. That was good fun.
Because the main place where OTT run their stadium shows is in Tala, and that is miles away from the city. I think it was €40 the taxi was from Tala Stadium back to the city. It was
20 quid each. I remember that. Yeah, so it was about 40 quid. But Tala's like a suburban area that they decided to build this massive stadium, and there's just a bunch of housing estates. Literally, there's a bunch of housing estates, and then a fucking stadium. And
you can't really stay in Tala then, because Tala is rough as fuck, so you will be killed.
Yeah.
So
people in Tala aren't really friendly. Unless you're also from Tala. Shout out to anyone from Tala listening to this.
And here, it's
you'll never be able to go back there now. Yeah,
it's such an uneasy feeling when you go to an OTT show. I know we're absolutely promoting it here for you, Fraser. But
it'll also be in March.
It's an uneasy feeling around Tala, going up in your Bullet Club t-shirts. You get into a wrestling show, and there's just the locals looking at you a bit sideways.
Smelling the stupidity off you.
But it's a great experience, obviously.
Definitely. We'll don't worry, we'll keep you safe. We'll hire security. Okay, back again. We'll probably have to do this in two parts now. Which I suppose will conveniently, we'll get
money in the bank. Yeah.
But we'll get into money in the bank. 2021. Like I said at the start of the show, it's the return. Well, we'll call it the return of fans. It's the first pay-per-view with fans.
Yeah.
It's emanating from Fort Worth, Texas. A bunch of rowdy cowboys getting fucking mental. I feel
just picture Matthew McConaughey just in the crowd, and that's
Yeah.
it.
With his
That's all it's going to be.
First going bloody mental with his big massive bum. Just saying all right to everything. Not telling all right. But
he's a big wrestling fan too, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
Did you ever see that episode of the Graham Norton show where it's him, John Cena, and
I have,
I think Snoop Dogg, and
he's going nuts about like Skandar Akbar and all that.
Yeah, he like him and Cena just get into a big conversation because McConaughey is a massive mark apparently. Yeah, it was funny enough. It was kind of cute though, but we'll get into the card. But there's one match before I get into the card that I'll have to talk about because it's no longer on the card, and that is very unfortunate because it was originally meant to be an I Quit match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. It was meant to be Bianca Belair versus Bayley in an I Quit match. Presumably the match that was going to end their feud that's been going on since just after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Bayley injured herself in training. They're all their superstars are training now for the return of fans, I suppose, just to make sure they're as crisp as they can be. And so we're not sure the extent of the injury, but we know it was a freak thing. She was just like running the ropes or something, and something happened, and it just I imagine it'll come out in a couple of months. I know exactly what happened, but just a freak injury, and that's put Bayley out now for 9 months supposedly, which leads me to believe it's an ACL tear. That seems like
I think they have confirmed it's an ACL now.
Yeah,
it's nothing to do with
that. I do wonder will they keep her on TV like they're doing with the Miz?
So.
Because she's done a great job. Like you could just do a lot of ding dong hellos and stuff. Like she's done a great job with those. And I'd imagine she'd do good in like a commentary position even.
Yeah, that's people. I saw someone suggest put her on commentary with McAfee and Cole and have her and McAfee just harass Cole for 2 hours.
Because the dynamic with Cole too, like kind of like what they did with Punk when they kept Punk on TV that time, when just kept him on commentary. So yeah, it'll be like I'd be interested in it to see what happens next. Obviously, it's an unfortunate circumstance, but I think she could shine in other ways and prove her worth to Vince in other ways through this. So yeah, I hope they do keep her on TV. Obviously, an unfortunate injury, but as they say, the show goes on, and they've scrambled
for a replacement, don't we?
Yeah, they scrambled, and I also said at the top of the show that similar to Hell in a Cell, they decided just to put one of the matches on SmackDown, and that is that match. This SmackDown Women's Championship match is taking place this Friday on SmackDown, and it'll be Bianca Belair defending her title against Carmella. Now, Carmella originally meant to be in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. She's now been taken out of that match and given a title instead, which is quite interesting. It's interesting that they're not doing it on the actual pay-per-view itself. Obviously, it's giving people a match to look forward to for when fans return. Like it's a title match. There is obviously as well, because it's the first show with fans back again. There is that slight possibility there could be a title change here potentially, especially with the story they're running at the moment with Liv Morgan. So we won't count it as an official prediction, say, but I want to ask you two guys, Carmella, Bianca Belair on SmackDown this week for the title. Does Carmella take it in front of the fans, or does Bianca get a big win?
I think it's got to be Bianca, surely, because like if Bayley was, I think Bayley was meant to take the belt off of her in the I Quit match. I think that was probably the way it was going to go. And yeah, I just don't feel like it would be justified to take the belt off Bianca when it's not been earned to go on to Carmella.
Yeah.
Plus, you could have it where like Liv costs Carmella the match on Friday, and then Liv is about to take the briefcase down, and Carmella costs her on Sunday. That allows them to continue their feud going, and keeps Bianca, keeping strong. Bring Sasha back, and then have them at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's interesting. Sorry, Jack. One.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to go to Bianca. But the one thing I would say is you were talking about Sasha coming back. I think it's going to be Becky. I think we're going to get Becky and Bianca at SummerSlam. Mainly because I don't want Becky to go to Raw because Charlotte's on Raw. I've had enough of that. And plus what they're doing with Charlotte and Rhea and stuff on Raw isn't great anyway. So I'd rather keep Becky Lynch away from it. So from that, and I think from out of matches that haven't happened, like this is a fresh match between like Bianca and Becky, and I think that'd be a marquee match as well, considering they're both women who ended WrestleMania on top. They're the only two women to do so. So that's the story you could tell. So I think that's where we're going. But like the same sentiment as Fraser was saying, I think it'd be pretty pointless putting it on Carmella now because they haven't built it up. So I'm gonna go Bianca.
Yeah, I agree with Roddy. Like I did kind of go, it's a last minute thing. WWE likes to do these weird things, but it's last minute. They like to pull off this massive surprise and kind of shock people. But,
it's kind of like the unwritten rule, isn't it, with that the stand-in always kind of wins. But I think this would be kind of one step too far on that.
It would be weird. It would be quite weird, especially since I think Bianca's had quite a good reign. I've enjoyed the feud with Bayley. Granted, I've been ready for it to end. I thought it might have ended at Hell in a Cell, but obviously not. But then, I suppose the only thing that's like one step up from a Hell in a Cell match is an I Quit match where you have to beat your opponent so badly they have to literally humiliate themselves. And it's interesting that you said that.
Yeah, I think you were going to go the same way I was going. So what?
I was going to say I was interested that Fraser said that he thought Bayley was going to win because Bianca's whole gimmick to me is toughest, roughest, fastest, strongest thing that the EST of WWE. It's very John Cena-esque, never give up kind of thing. And I thought it'd be quite weird for her to quit unless Bayley did some, mankind.
I thought it was going to be shenanigans.
Which could have happened, but Bayley is the kind where she can quit it, it'll be fine. But yeah, look, I suppose we'll never know. But Bianca's taking that title. And I suppose hopefully it's a good match, though. I reckon it will be. They're two insanely athletic women, so it'll probably be some fucking freak show of a match in a good way. So we'll get into the actual card now. What's actually happening on Sunday, and I suppose we'll kick things off with the other side of the women's title matches, and that is the Raw Women's Championship match. And it is the Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley defending her title against Charlotte in probably the least hyped match on the card. It's probably the one that least looking forward to, comfortable enough to say. Just based on the feud itself hasn't been great. The last match that they had at Hell in a Cell ended in a DQ. That's never good. And it's weird. They're both heel, and it's neither of them has turned face, and it's kind of strange. So Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. I'll go Fraser. You're the guest. Who you have and why?
I tune out every single time this comes on screen, this feud. I'm so bored of it. And I think it's Charlotte. As much as I think she's a fantastic talent, I'm just bored of it now. I think Charlotte's going to win because it's Charlotte Flair, and Rhea's had a run. I think more so now, if Bayley is off the card, they'll want to do a title change for the women, and I think Charlotte takes the belt from Rhea, allows Rhea to chase it into SummerSlam, and then they'll do the old switcheroo they like to do every few years with Charlotte, and they just hot potato belt.
Get those numbers up to 17 as quick as you can.
Yep.
But, I agree with that. I think Charlotte's going to win. For whatever reason, it's been very strange to me since WrestleMania. Something is missing with Rhea. It's not the same Rhea Ripley on Raw that we'd seen in NXT beforehand. I don't know. Is it the way Vince is directing her? I don't know. just something's missing from her character. Even in ring, she's missing. Like, she's had a few missteps in ring, which was uncommon prior to her going up to Raw. I don't know if it's Vince trying to get her to work a different way. Like, we've seen, I think it was Shayna Baszler who said that when she went up to Raw, Vince just kind of threw her whole kind of way of working out the window and was starting on a clean slate. But so I don't know. It's been very strange. I get the impression that Vince is kind of getting bored of Rhea, and when Vince gets bored of a character, especially a woman, like who does he insert? It's always Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
So
How long until they're tag team champions?
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, that is the penultimate booking method for women's tag team titles in WWE at the moment.
Well, that's what happens when you release your entire roster of women. And
that's also true. It's also true when you don't build up any other women around the Four Horsewomen. But yeah. So Jack, you going Charlotte here?
I'm going Charlotte,
yeah. I'm actually going Rhea Ripley here. Now, I don't know how, or I don't know why, because it's Charlotte, but you both make very accurate and true points. And I have gone over my head being like, it is Charlotte. They are going to put the title on her again soon enough. Like, it's one of those sure things. They are going to get her to 17, and like you said, Fraser, put it on her here, take it off her SummerSlam. Just these small reigns to build them up. But to contradict what Jack said earlier, I think the match at SummerSlam is actually Rhea and Becky, because I think like you said, the Raw Women's division, I think, has been pillaged over the last couple of months, and I think they're in desperate need of some star power, and the biggest star they can get is Becky. And
just on that, do you think Vince would be able to resist the urge of not injecting Charlotte in that match?
No, it is going to be a triple threat, and I'm fully accepted that. I fully accepted that, which makes it easier to say. Yeah. But no, I think the match will be Rhea and Becky, and probably Charlotte as well in some capacity. Yeah. And because I think the SmackDown Women's division has Bianca, and obviously Bayley now is injured, but it also has the likes of Sasha Banks, and it has, they recently got 3 NXT call-ups, and Carmella and Liv Morgan are there doing their thing, and Natalia's there as well. She's always a handy worker, if needs must. And I just think the Raw Women's division needs Becky more, in my opinion. I think the Raw Women's title has been abysmal since she's left, since she vacated the title or gave the title to Asuka. Every reign since, bar Sasha's tiny reign in the middle, every reign has been awful, including this one. And it's really terrible, because the people who have held it are fantastic. Asuka, Sasha Banks, Rhea Ripley, all amazing wrestlers. But just whatever they're doing with the Raw Women's division at the moment, it's just the absolute worst thing ever. And I think Rhea, and you make an excellent point, Bianca and Becky obviously have a lot of comparatives. Would be an amazing match to have on SummerSlam, especially if Becky wins the briefcase, the thing that kind of cost her title in a way. I know it wasn't, she had to because of her being pregnant and stuff, but it's kind of a poetic thing. That would be cool, and if that happens, I have nothing against that. I'd be up for that too. But I think Becky being against Rhea and probably Charlotte is the way to go. Just because they need her more, you know what I mean? So I think Rhea as the young upstart champion taking on the veterans and the returning, can I say legend, Becky Lynch is I think that's better, in my opinion. So, but look, if Charlotte wins, I will neither be shocked nor surprised. Yeah. So next up, and we're getting straight into it. It is the bloody Money in the Bank ladder matches, and it is the women's ladder match first, where, of course, if you don't know the rules by now, lads, you win a briefcase, and inside this piece of paper that you can get a championship opportunity anytime you want it over a 365-day period. And I have to mention that rule because it spawned one of the best reactions on Raw ever. If you remember when Brock Lesnar found out he had a year to cash in his briefcase, one of the best moments I've ever seen in Money in the Bank contract holder history.
And the most entertaining winner was, that was Brock's most entertaining character in years.
When he did the boombox
with the boombox, yeah.
Boombox, yeah. That was pretty.
Is that around the time he was doing stuff with R-Truth as well? Did you do a segment around R-Truth around this time as well?
Yeah.
That was a fun time in Brock. He was in a fun mood for those 3 weeks in Raw, I think.
He just butchered something for his birthday. That's what it was.
Yeah. He got to shoot something with a bow and arrow, and it made him really happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the women's Winning the Bank ladder match, and this one's kind of a hard one to predict because we're short 2 participants. Obviously, with Carmella now going into the women's title match. So the women we have confirmed for the match are Asuka, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega. Oh, sorry, Natalia's in the match somehow. I can't remember. I don't know how or why she got into that match. But
it was announced on Twitter today.
Really? There you go.
Sonya Deville just went, Natalia's in it. And that was it. Yeah.
Well, like, this is storytelling. Because like the men's match had a bunch of qualifying matches, and the Raw women got qualifying matches, but the SmackDown women were just announced one by one for some reason.
It's because there's only 4. So I've got no depth.
There was literally only 4 women.
We don't have enough people to make qualifying matches. You're all qualified. It's like the host nation in a football tournament. You're just automatically qualified.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're just in. It's Asuka, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Nikki Cross, Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, Natalia, and one other person. We don't know who that is yet. We don't know if there'll be an announced on SmackDown or if there'll be a mystery opponent for the night. I'll go to Jack this time. Jack, who do you have and why? Who's taking the briefcase?
It all depends on who the mystery opponent is. Obviously, if it's someone like
who do you think the mystery opponent is, and who do you think takes the briefcase?
I don't think it's going to be Becky. I think they're going to hold off to have her return match at SummerSlam and properly build it. I think WWE don't know at this point. To be honest,
I think they do. I think they do.
Do you?
Yeah.
Like you could say Sasha Banks, maybe. Like there's some possibilities.
It's Sasha. It has to be Sasha.
But if it is Sasha, then Sasha's winning, surely.
Yeah, because it's amazing. It's a miracle to me that Sasha Banks hasn't won it already, because Sasha in the Banks just writes itself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So if it is Sasha, then I'll go Sasha to win. If not, and it's just someone, thrown together, I'm going to go Zelina Vega. Because I think that, I think that will make the most news and noise coming out of it. Here was this wrestler who was it was like, talking, and you could do a semi-shoot style CM Punk 2011 if you wanted to go down that route of here's why I came back. I didn't come back for you, Vince, or you, Hunter. Like I came back for whatever. Like I came back to change this place. Or what was that quote Punk had where he's like, you can't change the world sitting on your couch in Chicago, which aged a bit. Has aged a bit.
Yeah.
But things that age poorly.
Yeah. But so yeah, I'm gonna go Vega if not, but it's probably going to be Sasha.
Okay, I've gone completely different in the fact I think whoever is that mystery entrant is going to win, and I've got one of 2 women. Becky Lynch, because it's the first pay-per-view back with fans, and she's she's signed a new contract.
Yeah,
she has been training for a return to the ring. Why not the first pay-per-view be like, here she is, she's back, and it's as if she's never left.
Yeah.
As you said earlier, she gets the briefcase. That's the thing that she handed over last year, was her title in the briefcase. Very poetic for her to get it back. So I think she could be winning it if it's her that's in the match. However, I also think it could be Sonya Deville.
Yeah.
And I think Sonya will put herself into the match and win it. And then she can have sort of be the authority figure that could also win the belt at any point, and then she can have a run as this dominant authority figure champion.
That's an interesting one, because that's out of something that I didn't even think of that, and that's actually a really good idea. But out of something that has been around for so long, the Money in the Bank, it's very hard to find something that they haven't done already, and like an authority figure holding the belt is something they haven't done. So that'd be an interest, or holding the briefcase even.
Don't tell Shane McMahon.
Yeah, he'll be on that next year.
Yeah.
Sweaty bollocks will be back out, and he'll just climb whatever ladders he needs.
He'll just dive off the ceiling of the building and just mid-air catch the
shooting star off of the top of the thing.
He'll just fly around and just, take it out like Superman.
Otis won it last year. Weirder things have happened. So
yeah,
I can't, like, that seems so long ago. And now when you're looking at where Otis is now, it seems even longer, because he's here where he was then. That's another thing we spoke about, things like that went on during the pandemic and memorable moments. I'll never forget that Money in the Bank ladder match.
That was the funniest match I've ever seen in my life. It was, and I know some people hated it, but I genuinely thought it was hilarious. And for one spot, and that spot being Baron Corbin just yeeting Rey Mysterio off a building. The genuine most fun. It's been a long time since I laughed that hard at a pay-per-view. It was genuinely so funny to me. Just the way he flew through the air. It was just, and he just stiffed or something. He like went stiff and just, brilliant. And
he's been through the ringer as well in this pandemic. Ray. Yeah, he lost an eye, got thrown off a building.
Yeah.
But so like
Sonya Deville. I mean, it would be cool, because like she's obviously been the one announcing the SmackDown women going into the match as well.
Yeah.
She was like, and the final woman is me, kind of thing. Like, and it would be good. I would be up for it, because I am looking forward to Sonya's eventual return.
And she has been training, as far as I know. I've seen pictures of her training for an in-ring return. So that has to come sooner rather than later if she's in the ring training at the moment. So you could be right there. You could be onto something.
Yeah, I would just like to see it. I quite like Sonya in the ring. I think she's quite underrated. So I think just give her something.
I do too. I think she's quite good at that old Sonya. And especially the fact that her feud with Mandy was kind of like some of the best stuff, like the best stuff she's done in her career, and it kind of got very abruptly halted due to real life circumstances, unfortunate things in real life, and that forced her to kind of take a step back and stuff. But she's been doing really well as the authority figure, I think, and but I think her true place on the card is in the ring, and. Yeah, if she's the mystery woman, I'll take that. However, I do think the mystery woman will be Sasha Banks, and I do think that she will be the winner as well. Like I said, Sasha in the Banks, it's like, how has that not been done yet? And
I feel like you're putting all your eggs in one basket off one slogan.
Sometimes it's just too good to not do. And
think of the terrible T-shirts they'll be able to print.
They'll chill so much money in just poor T-shirts that will only be relevant for like a month anyway, because she's going to cash in on Bianca for SummerSlam. That's going to the thing she's going to announce. She's going to cash in on Bianca for SummerSlam. That, because like I said, I think it's going to be Becky and Rhea. And then on the SmackDown side of things, I think it'll be Bianca and Sasha too. Electric Boogaloo. I think she probably will take the title back as well. And or a win in front of the crowd now, because Sasha seems to always lose in these big matches. So yeah, especially as well the fact they just won an ESPY for like moment of the year. They might want to run that back. If not Sasha, if it's someone else, I'd like Liv Morgan to win, just because I'm liking her storyline of like just the fact that she wants it the most of it teams of anyone, and it'd be cool if it would use the money back for like its original purpose of elevating someone to main event status. Give them that ace in the hole. So that would be quite cool. But I think it'll be Sasha. I'm quite confident of that. Moving on to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And dare I say, sirs, it is one of the more stacked Money in the Bank ladder matches in quite a while. We have, in this match, we have Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Big E, Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, or King Nakamura, as he's now known, and Seth Rollins. Who do you have and why? I'll go to you, Fraser.
I don't have a second clue. There's too many options in this match. I really want to say Big E because there's a lot of money in him getting the briefcase, getting drafted to Raw, and being the one to beat Bobby Lashley after Kofi doesn't achieve that feat. However, I think he's been on such a roll that I think Riddle is the right person to put it on. We have tension build between him and Orton, but like Riddle just be completely just not sure why, but he's got the briefcase. And I think him and Lashley could have some great matches for the belt. Yeah,
they would. That'd be quite interesting as well, because obviously Randy's been off TV now for the last couple of weeks, ignoring Riddle, because Riddle kind of, unintentionally cost him a place in the ladder match. And I think everyone, is expecting the obvious here, and Randy returns and costs Riddle setting up that match for SummerSlam. But I think it would be a nice twist if Randy came down and helped Riddle win the match.
Yeah.
That would be quite fun. Randy has this weird affection to Riddle. Yeah, that'd be quite cool, actually. And I actually said it to Jack last week, I think, on the podcast. Oh, no, 2 weeks ago, maybe. I can't remember. That Riddle, in my opinion, has actually been, and like the whole RK Bro thing, has been probably the most entertaining thing on Raw for the last, since they've been a thing. It's been really good. Just the way I even said it, just the way he says his names, Randy. I just love the way he says his name, and yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Didn't expect that. Now this is a very hard match to call. It's
too tough, because you can also, AJ could win it, if Morrison could win it, any of them could. I just hope it's not Seth. He's done it before. We don't need him. We don't need it again.
I also hope it's I hope it's not true, because he's had enough now, and I feel like the story for him is there, since he can't technically win it or compete for it.
He can't challenge Lashley.
Yeah, he can't challenge Lashley or whatever. So
good way to turn him heel though.
If
you get him the briefcase, whoever beats Lashley, he just comes in and destroys straight away.
Yeah, and that would work if it was someone like a Big E who did that. That would work. But at the same time, you're talking from a WWE standpoint, that's your two biggest stars, Roman and Drew, the guys that you built your whole shows off throughout the whole pandemic as heels. And they don't have, I know you can elevate a Big E and stuff like that as a top babyface then, but I just think Vince is kind of set, and I could be wrong, but I just think he's set now that we have this, that Drew is the guy, and he's booking him kind of like what he did with Cena, and just I think they're in for a rude awakening when fans come back and they see the reaction to Drew, because I don't think it's what people are going to be, especially given the last couple of weeks. And I'm sorry to say it to you, Fraser, because I know he's your fellow countryman, but the way they've done it, and even even the promos, like very Scottish promos. And
it's quite painful hearing him talk about his Claymore being a tooth of Nessie. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, he's one step away from saying that a haggis is an animal that he hunts in the wilderness. Like, it's getting daft.
To me, now I don't know, and you know more, but obviously about Scotland and Scottish history. But to me, it'd be like, Seamus coming out or Finn Balor coming out and talking about like, oh, Fionn McCool all day and fucking, the famine and stuff like that. Like it's just, yeah, like it just doesn't seem to be connecting with anyone but Vince. I think Vince is a history buff when it comes to Scotland.
Yeah.
No, it's not a thing.
It's like Vince's interpretation of Scotland or something, and it's all he's one step away from literally. Well, he's one lick of face bent away from coming out and quoting the Braveheart speech. Do you know what I mean? I
actually would unironically enjoy that, because then it would just sort of it'd just be so surreal.
Yeah,
don't half-arse it. If you're going to pretend he's Braveheart, just let him be William Wallace.
Or have him on the horse and everything. Like, have him,
do it.
Whole hog.
Yeah, if you're going to do it, like hire a bunch of extras, do it in the field, like literally,
have him drawn and quarter him. Get him all chopped up to bits and put him on spikes around England.
Yeah. Have Mel Gibson direct the whole thing. That just why not? So Jack, who do you actually have winning the match? So,
it's last week I was fairly confident that it was Big E. I'm not now, because I quickly realized that it's going to be Cena, and because in my head I was going Roman, then Big E and Roman at SummerSlam, but I forgot about Cena, and what Fraser brought up there about Big E chasing Lashley after being drafted is very, very interesting. I'll go Big E, but I wouldn't be surprised. Riddle is like I could see him put it on Riddle because the countless amounts of backstage segments they could get of him pulling joints or rolling papers out of the briefcase and all this, and he gets the munchies and opens up his briefcase and there's loads of food in there, like Scooby snacks. But I could see them going through. I could see them, even someone like a John Morrison, who you could tell that story. I could see any of them winning it really, and that's what makes it so interesting. But I'm going to go Big E.
I think they're going to do the obvious here. I think they're going to go Drew, because of that caveat of he can't challenge Lashley anymore. However, I don't think he'll do the thing of someone will beat Lashley and then he'll cash in on them straight away and turn heel. I think Vince will see it as a huge babyface opportunity. We're finally going to get Lashley versus Lesnar at SummerSlam, and then Drew's going to come down and cash in and make it a triple threat. And it'll technically not be against Lashley one-on-one. There'll be some loophole there that he can do that.
Vince will pin Brock.
Yeah, something like that. Something stupid. And Vince will see it as this, huge babyface moment. He's taking on these two Goliaths. But in reality, fans are going to be like, we really just wanted to see Lashley and Lesnar one-on-one.
Yeah.
And it's just, and they're going to shit on Drew. And I don't want that because I quite like Drew.
Yeah.
And but I think that's going to happen. I don't think Big E's taking it because I think Big E is getting the Rumble next year. I think he's taking the Rumble next year.
Fingers crossed.
I think it's going to be Roman and Big E at the Rumble. Or not at Mania, next year. I know that's light years ahead in WWE's mind, but that's that's what I'm at.
Depends if The Rock's coming back.
That's what I was just about to say. I think a lot of that is being determined on whether The Rock is available.
See, I know it's a long way away, but like if they can hold off till Los Angeles in
Yeah.
like that is the WrestleMania to do that match. Like, and I know it's literally 2 years away, a year and a, or yeah, 2 years away, more or less. But you know, it just makes sense to me to do Big E now. You know, have Big E win the title, and then have Roman regain it somewhere down the line, and then do The Rock at the following Mania.
Yeah.
Look, a lot can happen between now and then, so it's obviously all up in the air. But yeah, I don't think Big E's taking it. I'd like Riddle to take it, because that'll be quite funny. Like you said, I think there is some segments you can do. Just even that whole segment where they had them all in the ring and Riddle was on the ladder and was like, "Wow, I'm really high," and you know he was talking to AJ, being like, "Hi, Skipper," and like the call back to the Survivor Series team and being like, "You look like a little itsy bitsy," kind of. He started saying stuff and it was kind of funny. But I think Randy probably comes back here. Does he cost him? I don't know. I'd like to see him just get one run as a team and get the tag titles. Just even if it was for like a week, I would actually just want that.
Yeah, because I'm not ready to see them break up yet. I don't like. Yeah. I think there's some legs to it.
Yeah, there is.
And cash in on the tag titles.
Oh God! Like Otis wanted to do.
Yeah, remember that's what everyone thought Otis was going to do, and that was the worst. Please don't do that. On the SmackDown side of things, well, I think the women's briefcase is going to SmackDown, so kind of that unofficially makes this match going to Raw. But on the SmackDown side of things, I can't see Rollins taking it because he's already had arguably the best cash in ever.
Yeah,
you know, you can't really give him much more with that. Nakamura could, but he's just been given this King gimmick. I think they're going to run with that. They might lead this into a King of the Ring, you know, where he has to go and defend the crown. Yeah. Well, it's on the SmackDown. Like Big E, I already mentioned Big E, and Kevin Owens is there. You know, dark horse maybe Kevin Owens, but you know he's just going to do some crazy bump off a ladder, isn't he? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be Drew. And look, and hopefully they don't do what I said and have him just cash in on Lesnar and Lashley. But you know, it might also happen. So yeah, those are the two ladder matches. So we'll move in now to the World Championship matches, the Men's World Championship matches. First one being the WWE Championship match. It is WWE Champion Bobby Lashley defending his title against Kofi Kingston in a big match. Jack, I'll go to you. Would you have him?
Lashley. I think we're all going to be unanimous in this because, like, again, I think Kofi is an interesting one in the sense that I'd love to see Kofi get another title win. I think there's legs and there's a desire with the audience for Kofi to have the title again, given the way his reign ended the last time and he never got his revenge on that. So yeah, I think Lashley is going to win because I think we are getting Brock and Lashley at SummerSlam. Although, you know, you could easily do Kofi and Lashley or Kofi and Brock and tell that story again. But I think it's going to be Lashley.
Yeah, Fraser.
Yeah, I have to agree there because as much as I would love to see a Kofi title run again, at the moment it's Lashley's time. There's more money in a Lashley Brock match than there is a Kofi Brock match. And I think genuinely that if Kofi loses here, it gives Big E a reason to feud with Lashley if Lashley still has the belt when Big E moves to Raw, and being like, Lashley's like, well, I've beaten every other member of the New Day, but he's not beaten Big E.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that would be when the title goes to Big E because he's the one that really should have the run for the belt next.
Yep.
But yeah.
Going Lashley. No, I mean that's a really you make a really strong argument for Big E going over to Raw because apparently that is the rumor that he's going over, but not uniting with the New Day, although still being a New Day member. Yeah. He's still going to be like the singles guy, and Kofi and Xavier will be the tag guys. It would be interesting if Lashley beats Kofi here, which I also think will happen. I think everyone's fairly set on that. I think no one's getting their hopes up for Kofi Mania 2 just yet. I think it'd be quite interesting if Big E comes in then being like, oh, I will avenge my New Day brothers, and he beats Lashley. The kind of, you know, do you sow a seed of like kind of disdain in Kofi's head, being like, I mean, if that should have been me, like, I mean, or like, you know, not to quote Dolph Ziggler or anything, but like kind of like just be like, oh, you know, I had my time and no one cares about that anymore. They just want to see Big E with it. Like, I mean, it's the New Day, so I presume they'll just all be like, you know, they don't care who wins so long as New Day wins. And I'm up for that too. That's obviously quite nice, but I'd be up for one kind of respectful inter-New Day World Championship match between Big E and Kofi Kingston. That'd be quite fun. I'm gonna go Lashley. It is what happens next that is intriguing. Yeah. Do you have Big E win the briefcase and come over? Does Lesnar come back? Is Lesnar coming back? Obviously, that's a big question. But yeah, I think Lashley wins here. But I think I'm glad they're giving Kofi another title shot. That is, it wasn't just this 6-month kind of thing that happened in a vacuum. I'm glad that they're giving, you know, they're recognizing Kofi as a main event player and someone who can step into these moments. So yeah,
the only argument I could make for Kofi is if you do Kofi winning and then Brock comes back and you do Kofi and Brock hair versus hair at some dreadlocks versus the top knot.
Yeah.
Take my money now. I'll happily. I'd love to see Brock strapped into the barber chair screaming that he's a top knot. Who doesn't want to see that?
Yeah, they shave Brock's head, and it's Joe, like when they usually do it, it's like this big dramatic thing, like, oh my god, that person's bald now. It's just like, oh, it's still Brock Lesnar under all that.
Yeah. You look great, Brock. You look great.
You look better. So yeah, but yeah, and moving on to the main event of the evening, or what I presume to be the main event anyway. It is the Universal Championship match between Universal Champion Roman Reigns defending his title against Edge, the Iconoclast, as he's now called, whoever came up. I had to Google what that word meant, and it means like some figure that takes down, you know, religious figures or something like that. And I just thought to myself, it's such a weird word. Who came up with that? Were they just like, was Edge just skimming the dictionary looking for like?
I think Vince was skimming the dictionary.
I'll just call him something relatively rock starish. But yeah, it's Roman versus Edge, the match that should have happened at WrestleMania. Who'd you have and why? Fraser, I'll go to you, sir.
Reigns. Yeah, Roman. It's got to be Roman. Edge. I love Edge. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He doesn't need the belt. I think him and Rollins are going to have that match at SummerSlam. Have Reigns win in quite a decisive fashion, like he should do. Maybe have a bit more tension amongst the Usos and him, to make it look like, oh, he is breakable, like he can lose, because that seems to be the theme, is that Reigns does look like he can lose. It's just he's got lucky a few times.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tapped out to Bryan, he's tapped out to Edge, just not been seen by the ref. So we'll maybe continue that here.
And
Edge does that new.
Yeah, he owns the last man standing as well, where he technically lost that too.
Yeah, exactly. So like, have Edge do that crossface that he's been doing, and maybe have the Usos take out the ref, but Reigns does tap out again. And then that can, I don't know, have Cena and him, that somehow sets them up. But have definitely Edge versus Rollins at SummerSlam. Reigns goes over this weekend. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think the Rollins Edge match is a lock for SummerSlam. Because I think Rollins is costing him here. I don't know. Like, I think it'll be a typical blockbuster main event, half hour long, you know, big WWE match, and then there'll be a ref bump somewhere down the line. Rollins comes out, curb stomp. You know, maybe he curb stomps Reigns just to, you know, show that he's not like aligned with Reigns anymore. Like he's still not Reigns' buddy. And yeah, that's how Reigns wins, because from the moment this match was made official, it seems like they've been teasing the Rollins match, because Rollins obviously he asked for the match and McAfee agreed, or not Pat McAfee, what's his name?
Adam Pearce.
Adam Pearce. Completely escaped my head there. Stupid vaccine. But the Adam Pearce already promised to Rollins, then Edge came back and he gave it to Edge, and then Rollins was shocked, and they teased it last week on SmackDown with Edge saying, I remember 2014 or 2015 or whatever, and saying, that obviously that infamous segment where, Rollins threatened to curb stomp Edge on a briefcase, Edge who was still not cleared Edge unless Cena brought back the authority. And yeah, I think Rollins and Edge is a match people have wanted for a very long time. They've had multiple comparisons in the whole opportunist thing. So yeah, and there's no sense, I think, in taking the title off Reigns yet. I still think like he should hold the title to SummerSlam and beyond. I don't think, unless it's Big E, maybe take the title off him. But if it's Cena, I think he crushes Cena too. Simple as. So yeah, Jack, do you have a similar opinion or do you differ?
No, I don't think there's anything else I can add to that. I agree with pretty much everything. I think we're going. The only thing that I don't know is whether we'll get Rollins costing him on the night or Rollins just attacks him on the next SmackDown. I don't know how that works. But I think the destination is the same. Like the end goal is Rollins and Edge and Roman and Cena. So yeah, and to get there, Roman has to beat Edge on Sunday. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Whether they'll keep Edge strong. You'd imagine they will want to, because he'll have the match with Rollins for SummerSlam. So yeah, again, as I said, there's nothing much more I can offer that's exciting or an original thought about it, because it's pretty concrete that Roman's going to win here.
Yeah.
Just to say that now, and then he'll not.
Yeah.
Watch Edge make him tap clean now in the middle of the ring within
2 minutes in. Yeah.
But
cursed it there, yeah.
Just to circle back, actually, just briefly, because I already said it earlier in the podcast, and people are going to think I'm a fraud. But I said I had an idea for the Fiend to come back in this at this pay-per-view. Yeah. I think it's going. And Jack, you kind of hinted at it. I think he's coming back in the women's ladder match. I think he's taking out Alexa Bliss, and I think we're getting Fiend versus Bliss at SummerSlam.
Nice.
I think that's what's happened.
Could see it. Could definitely see it. It'll be an interesting one. I just wonder, WWE, a publicly traded company, I don't know how you tiptoe around the intergender stuff, because
we had Bliss versus Orton at the start of the year.
We did, but I'm trying to remember that match. Was there any? Did they actually get physical in that match?
Yeah. There was a couple points. Yeah, a couple points. There was a lot of spooky bollocks, but they did actually get physical. And obviously, Bliss pinned him.
Bliss pinned him in a very suggestive manner.
Well, I knew that. Yeah, I remember that. Well, I just don't remember the match. I'll tell you, the Thunderdome was all as we said. Bring it full circle.
Cultaholic has a list up at the moment of top 10 times women pinned men in wrestling. So go and check that out. You'll be able to see if the Fiend does come back and faces Bliss, then
there you go.
Yeah, they might do it.
Check out Cultaholic, your number one site for wrestling news and all that crack.
All that crack, yeah.
All that wrestling stuff. So yeah, that's about it. There's nothing else to talk about on the card itself. And Fraser, I believe we're going over your time now.
That's all right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
you've been gracious enough to give us 2 hours of your time. So
no, not at all. Are you excited for the show? You're going to watch it live?
Yeah, I am looking forward to it. I am actually looking forward to it because I do like a Money in the Bank ladder match. I think the men's match especially is going to be quite good. I'm looking forward to Edge and Roman. And I think Kofi and Lashley will be quite good too. And yeah, I mean, live crowd, I'm not going to complain. You know what I mean? And I will probably stay up for it unless I'm in piss early and work the next morning. But I'm working. I start work at 8:45 the next morning, so I imagine I probably won't watch it live. And what I probably will do is, like, because I'm working from home, and like I don't
my job doesn't consist of like being on calls or anything. I can have it on the background while I'm working. So I'll probably just not stay off Twitter or whatever, and as soon as work starts, then I can just throw it on and have it on the background.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, and then it's even better. You can skip through the bollocks.
Yes. Hopefully it's going to be quite a quick show though, because there's only 5 matches?
5 matches. But like, two of them are multi-person ladder matches. You have to imagine they're going to go at least 20 minutes each, and I think Edge and Roman will go on half an hour. So and
I think Lashley and Kofi will get time as well.
I reckon they'll get time. I reckon only about 15 or so minutes. I think that'll be the shorter of the title matches.
Yeah.
I think I actually am thinking of watching SmackDown on Friday live because it's the first show with crowds back. I might give that a look.
Meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. So
lovely.
Yeah, lovely and I'm cooking breakfast for everyone as well, so I have to be kind of having my wits about me. So,
but yeah, Fraser, as we said, we don't. We're conscious that you're a busy man.
Right. It's just honestly, what I'm off to do is sleep.
I'm the same.
I am the same. These like I said, these antibodies are kicking my arse right now.
But listen, Fraser, before you go, you give us a plug again. One last plug for
so you can follow me on Twitter at the Fraser Porter. Follow the company at Cultaholic on Twitter. Check out the stuff. I'm running all their social media stuff. So just find all the socials and you'll see stuff I'm doing. It's good fun. It's great fun. Thank you for having me on for another episode. It's been great fun.
Absolutely. Our first return guest. So you have that your award.
I've got that on
your trophy is in the post at the moment. No, it's been set there. Absolutely. Again, it was a pleasure. We'll have to run it back. We'll have to go for the round 3 now at some point as well.
Yeah, of course, got to have the hat trick.
I have to keep the ball rolling. So, Fraser, thanks very much for coming on. We've been Just Because Wrestling. Follow us at JB Wrestling 1998 and Just Because Wrestling on Instagram and YouTube, where you'll find clips that I'm very behind on working on, but I'm getting there of our old episodes. And follow us obviously for all the coverage of Money in the Bank next week and beyond. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.